right, everybody, here we go. We are here with Regan Rogerson today, the unmistakable OG of fitness video. Hey, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really exciting to have you on. This is kind of pinnacle. The podcast is kind of in a rebirth mode, and it's great to have a guest like you on. So thank you so much for coming
No,
on
I
today.
appreciate you having me, man, for
Yeah.
sure.
So for those that are kind of new to the channel or might not know how far you go back into this, let's throw down the history for people.
Just speaking of YouTube and stuff,
Yeah,
or
YouTube, or I mean, go all the way back, man. I mean,
okay.
you've been doing this for a long time, and you've had great success, and I want to let everybody know.
Yeah, so I'll try and make it as short as possible. I've been trying to get out of the fitness industry for about 25 years, and I keep falling back in. So I was a personal trainer. My father owned a gym when I was a kid. So my first job was in a gym. I've owned two health clubs of my own. In early 2000s, I got a degree in broadcast journalism. First thing I did, I started gravitating towards behind the camera quite a bit, and I was selling fitness equipment at the time in Toronto, and I had an idea for making a just a kind of a bare bones video on how to use a home gym. I had enough skill from school to do that. My boss kind of crapped on the idea. I did it anyway. I shot it for maybe $3,000 or something like that, not a lot, and I ended up getting a 14-year licensing deal out of that. So that kind of was an aha moment, which kind of pushed me into fitness DVDs. So I started producing a lot of fitness DVDs. And I know at one point I was probably producing and distributing more. I was probably the biggest independent distributor in Canada.
Wow.
I dare say. But with technology, DVDs started to kind of go by the wayside. And when that happened, I took a job with a supplement company as a creative director, and worked with them for a while, 3 or 4 years. And during that time is when we kind of started the switch over from DVDs to streaming. So after about 3 or 4 years of this job, I was kind of getting bored, which happens to me quite a bit. And so I left that job, reopened my agency again. I have a small boutique agency just outside of Toronto, and started kind of playing with YouTube on the side, and started that in December of 2018, not monetized. And by trying to think of the last couple of years have been kind of a blur, but I would say by June of 2020, that channel was making about $6,000 US every month,
Wow.
which for some people is a fortune. For some people, maybe that is a letdown to them. For me, it was all right,
Yeah.
considering I also had a job, I had clients and stuff. So as a side hustle, that channel, and that was with less than 10,000 subscribers. So no BS, no advertising, nothing. So I was pretty happy with how that was going, and obviously major assist to COVID. So I started a second channel, which initially was going to be kind of just behind the scenes of different shoots that I do. And I'm fortunate that I do some unique stuff in like sports world and fitness. And but I was getting really fed up seeing a lot of people's what they refer to as a fitness brand on social media. So I did kind of a video, just like 5 reasons why your fitness brand sucks.
Yeah.
And that video got some steam, and slowly but surely, my behind the scenes channel kind of morphed into Fitness Marketing Hub, which is what it's called now. And I do live streams. I have special guests on. I do a lot of videos just basically on, sometimes it's just referring to stories based on what I've experienced, but on how to take a channel from zero and build it into a solid, strong, full-time income within about a year to 18 months. And that's kind of what I'm doing now. It was a little bit slower in 2022, just busy with a lot of other stuff, but we're kind of amping up for some new stuff in 2023, which is exciting. And yeah, and getting into helping people build these brands, because if in 2023, if you're a personal trainer and you don't have a YouTube channel funneling people to you, you're crazy. You're missing a lot of potential income.
Yeah, and the conversation I have with clients all the time is, at some point personal training isn't scalable face to face.
Mhm.
You know, you have to find a way to scale your business while you sleep.
Yeah.
And video is a great way to do that.
Yeah. The problem is there's a lot of different coaches and self-proclaimed gurus out there that are giving really poor advice on it. And a lot of it refers to aggressive sales tactics.
Right.
And I think that kind of frightens some people because it's like, I don't want to be doing that and I can't do that. But one of the things that, like, I have a roster of clients that I work with now. And one of the things I always teach them to do is, like, you need to take any concepts and advice that I give you or things that we work on together, and you need to make this work for you based on your abilities. You could be a fantastic trainer, very skilled trainer, but maybe you're poor at presentation and speaking. So maybe your channel, you don't speak, like things like that. You have to kind of play Moneyball with it. And a lot of people, I think there's too many of these cookie cutter programs that are kind of, again, I think they motivate people, but they also overwhelm people sometimes too, which is why there's a pretty high failure rate when it comes to this stuff.
No, and I think that's a great point, right? Comparison is very dangerous.
Yeah,
I think you have to always, and that's kind of one of the things that I preach is always take your unique talents and skills and create what you want.
for
Don't,
sure.
you know, you can't do it for someone else. Well, and that's, I think I remember that video. It did catch a lot of smoke, but I thought it was well, I mean, I thought it was well received from me. I thought there were great
Yeah.
points in there.
I'm very one thing about that channel I find hard, I'm very toned down. Like the way that I would tell somebody if they were face to face with me, what I said in that video would probably be a lot more abrasive, but it's YouTube land, so you have to be a little bit nicer about it. But
Right, right.
yeah, unfortunately, some people need to hear it. You know,
Yeah.
they you know, a lot of people within the industry, whether they admit it or not, the industry itself has a high level of vanity, and people tend to make videos for their peers as opposed to making videos for an audience.
Right.
They try and throw out a broad net with the mindset that it's going to bring in more people, when in reality it doesn't, and it doesn't bring in more money. And chances are it won't bring in more people, and that's something we can talk about later. That just gets into the technical side of YouTube and the algorithm and how it understands you. But yeah, so I mean, it's there's a lot of talent out there that with a few tweaks could be doing some pretty phenomenal things, in my opinion.
No, I agree. And that's kind of why I'm here. And I know that's part of why you're here. It's to get those people from where they are to where they want to be.
Absolutely.
And then some. I mean, and that's where Fitness Marketing Hub comes in. I mean, that is a phenomenal resource for fitness entrepreneurs who are looking to up their video game. I
Oh,
mean,
thank you.
you put out so much, not only like you were saying, the tactical content, to understand more about the algorithms or better things you can do to create better content,
Mhm.
but you also break it down into those technical aspects. I mean, you know, I remember most recently when you did the countdown timer, and the way
Yeah.
you did that inside Premiere Pro, for someone like me who's been using Premiere Pro for a decade or more, was just like, oh my gosh, that is the most simplistic way to do that. Why didn't I think of that? You know, and now
Yeah.
I utilize that in clients' videos.
I think a lot of the great thing about stuff like that too is that it's trial and error for me. Like, I'm not a video editor by trade. I mean, I've had years of experience at it now, but I had to basically figure out how to do that. I only switched. I use Adobe Premiere now. I only made the switch from Final Cut Pro in 2019, so like 3
Okay.
years ago. So
Wow.
I never touched Premiere in my life until 2019, and it is a whole different. You know, you can kind of assemble it similar to Final Cut Pro, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a different beast, and
Yeah.
so you have to learn on the fly. And I think when it comes to Fitness Marketing Hub and some of the video content that I try and produce, what's different with me, or there's two things that I think make it stand out. It's um I don't believe for 1 second that I'm an expert in any field whatsoever. The reason I'm pretty good at this is because I have made every mistake you can possibly make in the book, and I've learned from it. So now I can help people avoid some of those.
Right.
If you scroll way down towards the early videos on that page, I did a quick video about the second fitness DVD I ever shot. And after having my big success with that first one that I mentioned, getting the licensing deal, I spent $50,000 on my next one,
Wow.
thinking, well, if 3,000 makes this much, then 50,000 is going to make this. It did not happen.
Right.
I have boxes that have been in my studio here somewhere.
Oh
Like, it
gosh.
took me forever to recoup my investment on that video. And again, that's something a lot of people will do. They want to do a channel. They want it to look like Heather Robertson or one of these big YouTube people, and they'll hire a production team and they'll go to a studio and they'll shoot for a day and they'll get 4 videos and they post them. And then what?
Right.
Like there's no end game there unless you're going to keep spending money, in which case you're going to get so deep in debt. Right. So that's great if you're doing this as a hobby and you've got income to spare as it is. But if you're somebody who's starting out, you have limited resources, you have no help, that's where my channel comes in handy. Because it's a build from scratch with there are things that I recommend people buy from time to time. I always try and keep it as low as possible. I will promote, and people that are in our industry probably hate this, but I'll promote items like a lighting kit that might be on sale on Amazon. It's not the best lighting kit in the world, but for somebody starting it on YouTube who's shooting in their living room or something, it's better than nothing. And it can, you know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, no, I was going to say just the advancements in the iPhone. I mean, I know you've got a few videos on there about how to create better content with your iPhone. And I mean, you know, the cinematic mode now and everything else. I mean, the barrier to enter the field has gotten lower and lower and lower.
Yeah.
And I agree with you completely. I mean, you know, sure, I would love clients to come to me and hand me tens of thousands of dollars for high-end production on REs and Reds and all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not necessary. You know, I mean, a 2-camera DSLR mirrorless shoot can accomplish everything that you need from that. I mean, and I think it gets back to what you were saying. It's more about the content that you create and the frequency that you create it, less than the production value as a whole.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a fine line, because I have clients who are fantastic trainers who tend to rush the setup when it comes to shooting. You know, little things like turn off autofocus. You know, I always tell people turn off autofocus, especially for like a hit style video where you're moving around a lot, because your camera is going to be constantly trying to catch up with you.
Yeah.
Find kind of a central spot. I do that with everything. Even before I jumped on this today, I had a stool with something sitting on it that was right here where I am. And I went to the camera and I manually focused in to make sure that this area of the room is focused. And I jumped in and hoped for the best.
The back of my chair. That's mine.
Yeah.
Back of the chair, right.
Anything like that. It's like, yes, it takes a second to do that. But it's much better than me being blurry, or me, you know, the camera lens being dusty, or like little stuff like that. So some people do feel that, you know, that their workouts will, you know, speak for themselves, so to speak. But when you see the level of content, both things that are being produced by major brands like Self and Shape and on YouTube, and then people who have just figured it out at home, or they have a spouse or a partner in their channel and stuff like that, and they're producing some really high-end stuff. So it's not to say you need to spend a lot of money, but you do need to spend a little bit of time making sure they can see you clearly, you know, that there's no shadows, because again, the presentation matters. And I think even just you and I talking here on this is a Zoom call, but it looks like a really nice podcast, because your setup is beautiful and my setup is doable. And you know, if I was walking through a mall and holding my phone up while I was talking to you, it would ruin, you know, even if people don't realize it, like it does kind of ruin the presentation a bit. And it's the same thing with this. You know, framing your shots and stuff like that, which is not hard to learn if you're serious about doing this and you want to connect with people.
Yeah. And trial and error, like you said. I mean, with the education I got in this, I'm a mass comm student, kind of very similar to you, right? The bare bones of the education. The rest has been 10 years of trial and error, which I think is interesting too. I want to talk a little bit about more of that tactical. You know, one of the things I've heard you talk about over and over again on your channels and different webinars and things is Google Trends. You're a big proponent of Google Trends for people trying to set ahead. And I know we're getting close to the new year. And I know you've also kind of commented before that, you know, this next couple of weeks is probably the greatest time to gather, you know, that kind of intel of what is the average person searching for inside YouTube from a fitness perspective. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like the great thing about, I mean, obviously most people know that YouTube and Google are one and the same. You know, one is a text-based search engine, one is a video-based search engine. But with Google Trends, you can look up both in Google and on YouTube what people are looking for. And something I tend to promote a lot when I do those videos is rising trends. Main reason being the most popular search terms on YouTube are flooded with videos. So even if you did an epic video on a kettlebell full body hit workout, if that's like the #1 search on YouTube, your video is going to enter the contest on page 75. Like it's going to be way down there.
Yeah.
Whereas when you look at a rising trend, those are the searches that people are looking for that don't have as much content available to them. And YouTube has won up this just over the last 6 months. And you can actually find this on your channel now too. Like you can see, yeah, it's a new thing that's in the analytics. Now, this is more valuable as your channel grows a little bit. But like my fitness channel, for example, Trainer Hub, I do a lot of sandbag and kettlebell workouts. And that's kind of where we've kind of focused in on. I can go into this and I can see what people who have visited my channel, some of the other searches that they're doing. And then it'll tell me if there's a high amount of content for this or a low amount.
Oh, wow.
So I may see something where it's like, you know, sandbag around the world, which is just like an exercise. And it may say low. Like, for example, in 2016, when I did that trap bar deadlift video, as primitive as it was, there was obviously not a lot of trap bar deadlift videos available on YouTube for people who just wanted a tutorial on how to use it and how to do it. And for a trainer, this is where I think for a lot of people, we take for granted what we know. Like you'd be shocked at, you know, how a proper form bicep curl video might do. It seems like the most generic, basic, stupid thing in the world to us, but to somebody who's never touched a weight in their life. And there are a lot of people who they get into their 40s or 50s or as seniors who have never done anything to maintain their body their entire life. And then health issues start to happen, diabetes, heart issues. Now they have to start learning how to exercise and they've never done it before. So as much as we think, well, this is stupid, why would I do a video about a bicep curl? There could be 100,000 people on the planet, if not more, who have no idea how to properly do a bicep curl. You know, do I just go up and down? How heavy of a weight should I use?
Right.
Do I go slow? Do I go fast? Like there's all these little nuances that, again, we take it for granted, but other people don't realize that. And that's what happened with that trap bar deadlift video and the success of my channel today, which I don't barely ever do any tutorials anymore. But a lot of the traffic to that channel came from that one video. It just takes that one simple thing. But I've gone so far down the rabbit hole, I forget what I was talking about.
No. We were talking about Google Trends, but I mean,
but
like you said, I mean, and I've watched your videos enough to where I've actually Googled trap bar, how to do it, you know, and it comes up. I mean, you know, so the proof's in the pudding right there. I mean,
and that's the thing. And with Google Trends, it's just really nice because you're able to see what people are looking for. Now, there's good and bad to that. The only negative thing is that some people are so reactive to it. They just try and do whatever the rising searches are. So they may have a yoga video 1 month. Next thing they're doing Zumba. Next thing they're doing and that's a problem too. It doesn't mean you just do all the videos that are in the rising searches, right. But it is a great staple. And particularly for the way that I try and teach people with like, I don't teach people to be an influencer to do like, that's not my thing. I know all about that. We do dabble in that about sponsorships and things like that. I have made money on my channels through sponsorships, but for a lot of people, they love being personal trainers, even locally. Right. So, I mean, for you to be able to, like, where did you say you're based out of?
So I'm based out of Northeast Tennessee, which is okay. In the Southeast. Yeah.
So you can actually look on Google and you can go, you can fine tune it as much as like the state, like Tennessee or like your exact location, what people are searching for as far as health and fitness goes. So like if your goal is maybe you want to use your channel to funnel in clients for a home studio or for a gym you have, or for a mobile personal training business, you can actually use Google Trends to find out what people in your area, because the people that are using Google to learn this stuff, they're more at the beginner level. They obviously have an intimidation factor going to gyms. So they're looking it up online. That just 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. So if you're able to produce some of the content that people in your area are searching for, it's going to connect you to those people, which starts a conversation, which is like, hey, appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Like if it comes out that they're in your area, get them in for a free consultation or something like that, which moves into a coaching client.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways that it can kind of spin, whether it's physical training you're looking to do, whether it's digital training, you're trying to push people to a website or to programs or online courses. But you can search globally, you can search just in the US, you can search basically anywhere, or like depending on what your goals are. And again, that's something that we can get into, but going into this without a concrete goal of what your end game is another huge mistake that a lot of people make. They just kind of throw things out there with no actual end game in mind.
So you kind of mentioned, I mean, I'm sure you've seen 1,000 people start and fail this. What do you feel like the big 3 mistakes are that people kind of get into when they do this?
Failure to niche down is a big one. I'll excuse me. I'll go into this part now. You may have to bring me back to this again.
But no, you're fine. Yeah.
The niching down
I'll count you down, and no worries.
Right off the bat, let me start by saying there's a lot of great advice on YouTube. Like different channels that offer advice on growing their channels and things like that. And some of them are just fantastic. The one thing that I do say is that some of the tactics that are used for a gaming channel or a DIY channel or a vlog are not the same as what you would use for fitness. And the main reason is that fitness is an emotional buy-in. So sometimes the messaging they're giving as far as things like, I watched a video recently and it was a guy he's a great YouTube marketer guy talking about how niching down is considered obsolete now. It's not a thing anymore. It absolutely is for fitness.
Yeah.
And I'd love to have this guy on my podcast because I'll fight with him all day long on this. But I think like he said that it's not across the board, but he's a big believer in that it's very limiting. But it's not. And what happens with YouTube when you're starting out in particular, this is when it's most important. If you start a fitness channel and if I call my channel Regan Rogerson Fitness, right off the bat, nobody is searching for my name on YouTube.
Right.
The biggest difference with YouTube compared to Instagram and Facebook is that your content is the leading man. You are a supporting actor. Whereas on Instagram, you're the leading man and your content is a supporting actor. So it's very much reversed in that sense. So if you start a channel and you're kind of basing it on, this is my journey in fitness, which I hear way too much. And one day they're doing a grocery haul. Next day they're doing a recipe video. The next day it's a vlog about something that went wrong in their day. The next day it's a workout. The next day it's a tutorial. The next day it's a workout with a different piece of equipment. And then the next day they're at the gym doing something. Like this is where it becomes about that person and less about the actual content.
Right.
But more importantly, when you're starting out, the YouTube algorithm is a machine. It's not a real person. They're not looking at your channel. They're looking at the content. They're looking at what people are searching for, how they're finding it. Even though all of those different things are within health and fitness, they're very diverse. And what happens is the algorithm doesn't know who your avatar is, who your ideal subscriber would be. So they have to guess. So they're sending it out to people who do fitness searches, which it's such a broad, that's a very, very broad audience. And what happens is, so when they show your video to people, that's an impression. So that's basically, the amount of times that your video shows up on recommended videos, on a home channel or home screen anywhere, that's an impression. So it's being shown to people. If people click on your video and then they tune out really quickly, like maybe they watch for 20 seconds, like, oh yeah, this isn't for me. And the reason that happens doesn't mean your video is bad. It means that it's not the right audience for you. And it's not the right audience because it's showing it to very, random fitness people. So if they abandon it early, that's not good for you. That lowers your impressions. They won't show it to as many people. If people bypass it because it's, it's a yoga video, but they're into kettlebell stuff or something, and that's bad for impressions. So you start getting shown to less people.
Okay.
But if you were to start a channel and let's say you were doing all kettlebell videos or all yoga videos, and let's say it's all 20-minute yoga videos for beginners. I'm just throwing something out there.
Yeah.
You start doing that. It can be a bit of a slower build, but what happens is you're going to connect with people who are searching for 20-minute beginner level yoga workouts. And then when they see that, they basically, the algorithm understands over time that, okay, this is a channel that does a lot of 20-minute yoga workouts for beginners. And they understand exactly who you are. So it's like, let's send it to the people that look for 20-minute yoga workouts. Let's send it to the people who look for beginner yoga workout videos. So the people that are seeing your videos are more ideal for those videos. So the chances are that they're going to click on it and watch more of it or actually participate is higher, and not bypass it at all. They're at least going to check it out because that is their wheelhouse. So that's the biggest difference. And I've used this same analogy with Fitness Marketing Hub. When people find, like, my channel is very niche, the Fitness Marketing Hub one, but the people that find it, they love it. Like, I have, that channel only has about 2,500 subscribers, but they're all basically personal trainers. And 9.8 times out of 10, the people that find it, they go crazy. Like, this is exact, and you can go through my comments. This is exactly what I was looking for. I can't believe there's a channel like that's because I'm like, I could have been just a random YouTube, grow your YouTube channel type of channel, but then I'd be competing with a lot of other people. My thing is grow your fitness channel, which there's not very many people doing that on YouTube. So when people find it, they're just elated. And that's what I want, because those 2,500 people, those are 2,500 qualified leads that I can sell services to. I can turn into coaching clients. I can do a lot with. And that's a big part of how I kind of show people how to start their own channel, is basically, and how to grow it.
So aside from niching down and making sure that you're on brand, right? And we kind of touched on that earlier, making sure that your brand is authentic to you.
Mm-hmm.
What about time in? Do you feel like, it takes more time to build when you're niche down like that, or?
It can be a little bit slower at times. But in the long run, it does. It's hard to explain. Like, I'll use my workout channel as an example. I do a lot of kettlebell workouts and I do a lot of sandbag workouts, like I mentioned. The sandbag workouts I typically do. The kettlebell workouts, there's a girl, Jacqueline, who does a lot of workouts on my channel. Her workouts usually get more views than mine. And I think a big reason for that is she's a much prettier thumbnail than I am. And kettlebell is more popular. But then when I look at the analytics of my sandbag videos, I get more subscribers than her, and I get much longer view durations than her videos, but my videos have less views. So, and I'm still trying to figure this out. Again, I'm learning as I go, just like a lot of people, but I don't know which one of those two things is better.
Right.
And in one case, I've got a very cult following of people who really enjoy the sandbag videos. They do them. My CPM rate, which is the amount I get paid per 1,000 views, is about 4 times as high as the kettlebell videos. So it's making more money per 1,000 views. So even if I have 2,000 views and she's got 8,000 views, I'm making the same amount of money as her. Sometimes more, because I've got advertisements within the videos. So if people are watching my videos twice as long, chances are they're getting 2 or 3 more ads as opposed to 1 or 2 on hers with a lower average view duration. So things like that, I guess it's hard to tell, because we've all been taught that, views and likes and subscribers are everything. But it's like, is it? Like, if you're looking to make money, it kind of isn't. Like, so that's the thing. It's hard to know sometimes what is the way to go. But that's to me is why you're much better off niching down. Early on, you can try a few different things, but I think it's good. Like a niche doesn't have to be one piece of equipment. A niche could just be 20-minute workouts. Like people on YouTube, they search by time a lot. It's one of the highest search when it comes to workouts. Looking for 20-minute workouts, 30-minute workouts, no repeat workouts. Like that's all, those are all niches as well. So if you're doing all no repeat workouts, which means it's not a round system, there is an audience for that. So, but that allows you to still do any different kind of equipment you want to use because your niche is the time. Yeah, and for a third thing, I think a lot of the times it's hard to narrow it down to three because there's usually a bunch, but
Right.
I'm gonna say having the wrong goal, like having the wrong mentor, so to speak. A lot of people that come to me, they want to do channels and they'll name like this person or like that person, and they're talking about people who have 1 million, 2 million subscribers, if not more. When you start out, you're much better off picking a channel. Like if you're starting from scratch, find a channel that's got 5,000 subscribers or 10,000 subscribers and see what they're doing, because what they're doing now is where you want to be in a year.
Yeah.
Someone like Carolyn Gervin, who's a big YouTube person. I mean, people search for her workouts by her name.
Right.
So at this stage, and she exploded and grew really fast. She does great workouts. Like, she deserves what she's getting. But now it has reversed and she is the star of the show. So when people are looking for her workouts, they're typing Carolyn Gervin kettlebell workout or something like that. So for you starting out, there's no point in using that person. Like you can look at them as I like their production value. I like that they don't talk in their videos. I like the kind of music they use. All that's cool. But trying to design yourself to look like somebody who's got 2-3 million people is just, not only are you going to be just a very watered down version of that person, but oftentimes, you don't realize that that person has 3 people off camera helping them. They have people running lights. They have people editing for them. Like if you're editing for yourself, you're shooting for yourself, you have a smaller room, you've got some obstacles that maybe these people don't have. Don't look at them as your go-to for ideas and stuff, because it's just not the same stratosphere, so to speak. Not to say you can't get there, but you have to pick kind of like a mentor for 5,000 subs, a mentor for 20,000 subs. I mean, and oftentimes I think with views and subscribers and things like that, it can be a bit misleading. I've been hired to work on channels that had 150,000 subscribers, and my channel with I think I have 25,000 subscribers makes more money than them.
Right.
So it's like, is that channel that good? It's got subscribers, but it's not making money. So if your goal is to make this a part of your income as a personal trainer or as a fitness influencer, whatever your goal is, I think it's better to just look at a channel that has all the, a lot of similarities to you, like, and just basically use that as your goal. And instead of looking at, the king of the jungle, so to speak, and trying to emulate them, because you're just not there yet.
No, I think that's great advice. I mean, it's got to be scalable, right? And like you said, I'm a 1,500, couple thousand person, right? And I look at the tens and twelves, and I'm, the $1 million subscriber or the million person subscribers or the 500,000, that's down the road, and hopefully one day. But I like the slow and steady.
Yeah, and I think honorable mention goes to being patient. I'm putting together an online course right now, and what I do with my coaching clients is I basically try and set them up so they get to a full-time income in 12 to 18 months. If they do everything I say, they'll have it in 12 months. If they don't, I don't. Like, there's certain things when I'm here in Canada, I can't control what they're producing.
Right.
I don't dictate. I might dictate a niche, but I don't dictate what every workout's going to be and stuff. But you need to be patient, and it's not, social media. When I look at Instagram as a comparable, it's like that instant gratification. You post a photo and you get your whatever 100 likes, 300 likes, whatever it is. Whatever. Yeah, I don't get that many, but but yeah, it's, I've had clients who had to make changes when they started focusing on YouTube, because their other social channels for the longest time were much more provocative. And the reason they were more provocative is they came from a fitness modeling background.
Right.
And provocative photos are going to pull in a male dominated audience.
Right.
And the more provocative, the more likes. The problem is that those photos don't make money.
Right.
They don't sell products. And when you're switching to YouTube and you want to do workouts and be a trainer and help people, if you're a female trainer, chances are, you're going to be angling, and not all the time, but many times you're going to be angling for other females, because people that are looking for trainers, they're looking for somebody relatable to them.
Right.
So if you're an early 40s, fit, healthy woman, and you can be kind of that role model for somebody who's in their early 40s and not feeling good about themselves. But if they go to your other social channels and see really provocative photos, a lot of women, I'm just using women as an example, wouldn't be overly excited by that.
Correct. Yeah.
And I shouldn't pick on women, because men.
Well, no, it's true. I mean, I have this with my clients too. I have some clients who are NPC competitors who want to be a little more risque, and then I have some clients who are absolutely stunning who don't have more modesty, and they don't want to go that route. And I think it goes back to our earlier point of, like, you have to be true to your brand. You have to be true to who you are.
Yeah.
If you want to be, more rock star, that's great. That's what we're going to do, because that's what your brand is. But if you are more mom focused and family focused and those kinds of things, great, then that's the direction we'll go with your brand. I mean, it's really comes down to that brand choice.
Yeah. And again, I always try and work with people within, as I said, within what are our assets and what are our liabilities here. To kind of put a stamp on what we just talked about. The hard thing, if you were to kind of switch your online presence a little bit, is that you're going to immediately see a decline. So it's hard for somebody to, if let's say they came and started coaching with me, we started kind of focusing more on workouts and health and nutrition and things like that, and less on provocative photos. And all of a sudden they see themselves losing subscribers on Instagram, on other platforms, for example, and they see themselves losing, their likes and things like that. Some people have a really hard time with that. And it's almost like, that you've heard people talk about that addiction where they need that feedback constantly. So they go back and they post a provocative photo just to bring themselves up. It's almost like a dopamine thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to make the change, and things may go down before they start to come back up. But it's fine. It's all part of business. It's no different than a business switching, a brand, or switching a product, or, it's sometimes those things will happen. But yeah, so I mean, I think being patient with it, not forever, obviously, but giving it time to, because those first few months can be pretty quiet, and you feel yourself doing a lot of work and getting nothing out of it. But it does start.
Yeah,
I had people make fun of me when I started making money off fitness marketing. I had about 123 subscribers, and I remember a guy commented one day, and he's like, LOL, do you even take your own advice or something? Because I didn't have that many subscribers. And it's like, but this is somebody that based that channel on subscribers. And it's like, now I've got 2,500, and I guarantee you I probably make more money than that guy does.
You're right.
So,
but that vanity metric, everyone chases that vanity metric. It's crazy.
To me, it's very much a dollars and cents thing. I love YouTube. I love the creativity of it. I love the fact that, it's like having a television station. You can, in your mind, you can treat it like that. The fastest rising platform on YouTube right now is smart TVs. As much as it's still being dominated by mobile devices, but the fastest rise right now is smart TVs, which is fantastic for us, for fitness people. Because somebody can actually turn it on the TV in wherever room that they do their workouts and watch it. They're not doing it from a tablet or a phone or that anymore. They're doing. So I mean, like it's we're pretty fortunate to have this and all the, the other assets that go along with it that are available online for people that want to have a good, strong online fitness brand.
That's so cool. Well, Regan, man, I cannot thank you enough for spending time with us today. And I want to encourage everyone who this is just a small little 45-minute download of all of the trials and failures and all the information. But if they want to continue farther in their growth part, in their growth with their own YouTube channel, how can they reach out to you, and what can they do to follow you?
I'm on Instagram at Regan Rogerson. It's an easy spot for direct messaging me. And then the YouTube channel is at Fitness Marketing Hub. And that's probably the easiest spot. I'm glad you cut me off because I could talk about this for like
No,
5
I
hours.
love it, man. I don't want you to give it all away, man. People need to buy you a coffee for the rest.
No, people need to, it's good to have a host that stops me at a certain point because I'll just keep going.
Nah, man. I appreciate your time that you've given us so far, and I don't want to take more of your time, but I definitely, thank you so much, man. Like,
Oh, my pleasure, man.
to have you on this show is huge for me because honestly, I didn't think you'd respond to that DM. So, it's huge. It's huge.
I respond to most DMs, believe
Yeah.
it or not.
Yeah, he does, people. So reach out to him and get some coaching. That's how this works. But Regan, man, thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you again, man. And I'm greatly, greatly appreciative for your time, man. Have a great new year.
You too, buddy. Happy New Year.
All right, take care.